You saw in the previous clip that the application that acquired the lease is also not able to update the blob anymore. Also, this application gets the error that there is currently a lease on the blob and no lease ID was specified in the request. This means when we update the metadata or when we override the blob, we need to pass that lease ID with the request. So let's go to the Coffee Video View model and let's pass the lease ID to the methods of the Coffee Video Storage class. And let's start here with the override video async method. Here we call the override video async method of the Coffee Video Storage instance. Beside the cloud blob and the video byte array, let's just pass in here, in addition, the lease ID. And I press Ctrl- to add a parameter to that method. Now let's scroll down, and here in the delete video async method, we call the delete video async method of the Coffee Video Storage instance. Also here, let's just pass in the lease ID. And of course, I need to press Ctrl- to add also this parameter here. Now let's scroll down to the next update method, update metadata async. Here we call update metadata async on the Coffee Video Storage instance. Let's also pass in the lease ID to that method. I press Ctrl- to add a parameter. Now let's go to the iCoffee Video Storage interface where we have added the additional parameters. You can see now override video async has a lease ID, delete video async has a lease ID, and update metadata async has also a lease ID. Now let's use these lease IDs in the Coffee Video Storage class. So let's scroll up to the override video async method and let's add here the lease ID parameter. And now all you need to do is to set the lease ID property of the access condition to the value of the lease ID parameter. Let's just copy this part, let's scroll to the delete video async method and let's paste it here also for the access condition and let's specify here also a lease ID parameter. I scroll down to the update metadata async method, I specify here also a lease ID parameter and I use that lease ID parameter in the access condition. Great! Now let's run the application again. Let's go to the taskbar and let's bring up another instance of the application. I select the skateboarder MP4 blob in both applications. In the left application, I acquire a lease on the blob. In the right application, I try to update the title of that blob to Coffee on the Board, and I click on Update Metadata. This doesn't work like we have seen it before, as there is currently a lease on the blob. But now let's try to update the title in the left application. Let's write here, instead of Coffee Skater, Skating with Coffee. And let's click on Update Metadata. And you can see this user can still update the blob. This user could also go, for example, to override video, and then this user could select another video, and this video is actually uploaded. So our new lease ID parameter works. Now, when this user is done, this user should release the lease. Then the user on the right side can actually work on the blob. For the metadata and also for the video actions, delete video and override video, we have implemented optimistic concurrency, so that this user on the right side sees that the video has changed. But now we have still one bug. When I acquire a lease in the right application, I got the lease, but I don't have the latest data. You can see this instance still has the old title and the old video. So in fact, when a user acquires a lease, we should also check a blob's e-tag. So let's implement this. Here in the Coffee Video Storage class, I scroll down to the acquire 1 minute lease async method. I just copy the access condition here and I paste it into the acquire 1 minute lease async method, and instead of the lease ID, I use the if-match e-tag property and I use here the cloud blob's e-tag. And now all I do, I just pass that access condition to the acquire lease async method of the cloud blob. As you know, this method will now throw a storage exception when the access condition is not met. So let's go to the Coffee Video View model. I copy here the catch block for the storage exception that shows the video changed message and reloads the metadata and the blob. Let's scroll down to the acquire lease async method and let's just paste that catch block here. Now let's run the application and let's see if this works. Let's go to the taskbar and let's start up another instance. Let's select again the skateboarder MP4 file in both applications. In the left application, I update the title to Coffee on the Board, and I click on Update Metadata. Let's also replace the video with the original skateboarder MP4 file. Now the user on the right side tries to acquire a lease. And you can see, now the message pops up that someone else has changed this video. When the user closes this message, the metadata and also the video is reloaded. And now the user can actually acquire a lease. Great! So now you have seen how to implement pessimistic concurrency with leases. Before we wrap up this module, I want to show you that you can break a lease.